I think the best thing for people in Hollywood that are entrenched in that world is to shut the fuck up. Because as soon as they start talking, as soon as Robert De Niro starts talking, I'm like, Jesus, get that fucking microphone away from him so I can enjoy Taxi Driver.
What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number 1 of Trump derangement.
Robert De Niro came in swinging, trying to talk tough about Trump and flaunt his Hollywood clout. But once Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly teamed up, it turned into a verbal demolition derby. It was like watching a confused grandpa stumble into a podcast cage match. Rogan hit him with facts. Megyn dropped icy sarcasm. And De Niro, he folded faster than his last box office flop. The tough guy persona unraveled in real time. This wasn't an interview, it was an intellectual ambush. Let's break it down.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
That's what, of course, Kurt thinks
That's
that.
what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every fucking thing that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old too. There's a thing about old men, and they want to yell at everybody.
He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's got.
Robert De Niro just couldn't help himself again. Hollywood's unofficial spokesperson for unhinged political rants opened his mouth and promptly tripped over it, this time with Olympic-level commitment that left his career's dignity face first on the floor. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse than shouting at imaginary political ghosts on red carpets, De Niro takes it up a notch only to get fact-checked into a coma by Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, live and unscripted. No stunt double, no mercy.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
Yeah. You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense. Like
if you thought watching De Niro awkwardly stumble through his public tirades was cringy, watching him try to spar with people who actually read past the headlines, that's a whole new genre. It's not drama. It's not comedy. It's a tragicomic train wreck starring a man whose tough guy persona runs solely on expired taxi driver fumes and espresso-fueled outrage.
Hypocrisy is alive and well amongst these sanctimonious leftists. From Kimmel to De Niro to Stephanopoulos, they want you to believe they're better than you, more virtuous, more decent. But we all know the truth. They lie. They sin. They do the very things they accuse you of and the things they say they would never do. Evil things, like try to destroy people based on feigned outrage from which they spare their own side, or playing politics with a woman's.
To be fair, Robert De Niro has given the world some incredible performances. Raging Bull was a masterpiece and Goodfellas still slaps. But somewhere between method acting and method yelling on MSNBC, De Niro seems to have confused playing a mobster with actually being one. These days, instead of delivering Oscar-worthy lines, he's spitting out MSNBC sound bites like a grandpa who just discovered YouTube comments. So what happened this time? Well, Bobby dove headfirst into political commentary again. Like a guy who binge-watched 3 documentaries and now thinks he has a PhD in geopolitics, he launched into another unscripted tantrum. complete with twitchy facial expressions, vague outrage, and enough finger-pointing to set off TSA alarms.
You see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Told him that was a good idea.
And then he starts yelling at regular people. He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy
what?
from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what? Also, I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery.
Just when you think the drama's over, bam, Joe Rogan catches the clip. And you can practically hear veins popping as he tries to wrap his head around how a grown man can be this unprepared for his own opinions. Because if there's one thing Rogan does tolerate, it's someone faking depth without doing the homework, especially when that someone is also pretending they're still culturally relevant. Joe doesn't even need to raise his voice. He just calmly dismantles De Niro like he's breaking down the label on some overhyped protein powder point by point, logic by logic, until all that's left is the shredded ego of a guy who thought yelling louder made him more correct. Spoiler, it doesn't. But then comes Megyn Kelly. Yes, the journalistic steel trap with razor-sharp wit and a memory like a filing cabinet full of brutal receipts. She watched De Niro's Ramblefest and with one dry look basically said, "I've interviewed world leaders. You're not even the most dramatic person I've dealt with this week." She didn't just call him out, she froze him in place. Surgical precision. If De Niro thought he was walking into a love fest, Megyn turned it into a political intervention.
I've been talking to De Niro again.
I don't even listen. When De Niro starts talking about Trump, I love him too much. I think he and Trump hate each other personally. All I should be asking Robert De Niro about is two things: awesome movies and divorce. Like, tell me what happened to you.
I would love to ask him
with
about
the
that.
divorce. Tell me what happened if you want to talk about it, and tell me what happened to you with these awesome fucking movies. I don't need to know jack about his politics. Why is he talking about this publicly? If you're gonna come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, and you can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him. I think you probably, if you're gonna express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're gonna have to do better.
Megyn's response wasn't so much "you were wrong" as it was "do you even know what you were talking about?" And that's what made it so effective. De Niro wasn't taken down by rage, he was taken down by facts, which as it turns out, might be his kryptonite. It's almost poetic. After decades of playing mobsters who outwit the FBI, he gets intellectually outmaneuvered by a former Fox News anchor and a guy who once interviewed a chimpanzee. And the best part, this isn't some one-off slip. It's just the latest in a long series of public meltdowns where De Niro doesn't seem to be speaking truth to power, he's yelling at clouds and hoping for retweets. Let's rewind. The man once proudly declared he didn't care about backlash from half the country. Think about that. He's publicly dismissing the very people who showed up for Meet the Parents and analyzed this unironically brilliant business move. Bob, alienate your core audience while complaining that box office numbers are down. It's like opening a restaurant and banning anyone who likes salt. And sure, he's entitled to his opinions, everyone is. But when those opinions come wrapped in condescending, shouty rants that make less sense than the Irishman's de-aging CGI, it's not political bravery, it's ego cosplay.
Robert De Niro, who's got a severe case of the TDS, is in conference right now, as all of the muckety-mucks are. And he's very unhappy about what Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again for the American audience that they're meant to serve. And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of
Philistine.
one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute.
Joe Rogan, to his credit, doesn't take the bait emotionally. He does what Rogan does best, asks simple, brutal questions like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? And that's the dagger. Because when someone asks that on a show watched by 11 million people a week, And no one, not even Darrow, can answer it. The game is over. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly doesn't bother asking questions. She skips right to the conclusion. This is what happens when celebrities confuse applause with understanding. Darrow went from Oscar winner to Facebook uncle in less than a minute. All that was missing was a back in my day and a rant about gas prices, and let's not pretend this was some brave, spontaneous moment of truth. Darrow knew what he was doing. He's been coasting on this whole tough guy turned political prophet act for years now. It's his brand. Only problem is his political takes are less informed commentator and more guy who fell asleep during the second act of C-SPAN. You want to talk bravery? Try going on Rogan's podcast and defending those takes to someone who actually understands policy. Spoiler alert, he hasn't, and he won't, because being held accountable in long-form conversation is a lot harder than delivering a 15-second rant in front of a Hollywood audience that claps at anything with resistance energy.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I love De Niro. I love those mob movies. It's like,
I don't want to hear him that he's a moron. I don't want to hear him talking about politics and about Trump supporters, and just shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think.
De Niro's rants are so predictable they could be automated. Toss in some buzzwords, a dash of rage, and boom, instant meltdown. It's political Mad Libs without the coherence. Let's be real. No one's canceling him. He's got more mic time than most politicians. The truth, people are just bored, tired of being yelled at by millionaires who treat tax policy like a spice. While Rogan's audience is deep diving into policy, De Niro's still wondering why his shouting isn't being treated like a TED talk. That's the difference between broadcasting and ranting. One adds value, the other just adds volume. The irony, his on-screen legacy was calm, calculated, cool. Now he's the guy yelling into mics like Starbucks ran out of oat milk. From Godfather to Facebook uncle, it's been a wild fall.
People shouting him down like, your movies suck. That's not true.
No, his movies are
don't
very good.
suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now, because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, and the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked, and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
And
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down. We need to be
If you're going to get political, fine, just come prepared. Bring arguments, not theatrics. In the era of podcasts and deep dives, audiences can sniff out fluff from miles away. And Robert's takes, they grief fluff you could stuff a mattress with. Here's the kicker: nobody tore Robert De Niro down better than himself. Rogan and Kelly just held up the mirror. What we saw wasn't courage, it was a man confusing applause for insight, headlines for substance, and rage for relevance. Remember, this is the same guy who starred in The Intern and made a movie about dignity and aging, yet now he ages with all the grace of a malfunctioning smoke alarm. He had the legacy and credibility. Then he traded it all for claps and viral clips. When Rogan talks, you get nuance. When Kelly speaks, you get precision. When De Niro talks, you get emotional static, a garbled message in all caps, ending with him getting dumped on by people who actually know what they were saying.
Yelled at, he's doing an outside press conference like, Robert, you're 80 years old, don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a fucking raging bull. You were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this.
Man.
Don't do this.
If we're being honest, the most shocking part of this saga isn't De Niro's meltdown, it's that anyone's still surprised. This isn't new. It's his greatest non-performance. We're on reboot number 3 of Angry Actor Gets Political, and the script hasn't changed since 2016. At this point, he's not making statements, he's doing community theater for Twitter. Only the audience left 3 years ago. Now he's yelling into an empty auditorium while Joe Rogan calmly tears apart his monologue like a high school English teacher with a red pen. What did we learn? Fame doesn't equal knowledge. Shouting louder doesn't make you right. And if you try to out-talk Joe Rogan without a plan, better keep the receipt for your dignity. It's probably non-refundable. As for Megyn Kelly, she didn't just clap back, she launched a verbal flamethrower from Mount Logic and turned De Niro's talking points into a puddle of melted ego. Her expressions alone deserve an Emmy.
But it was making it seem that she locked up because she's a complete and fucking total idiot. That's not.
She's in a pretty contest.
Not only, but that's not just that, dude. Anybody could get locked up like that. You're on stage in front of people with TV cameras pointed at you. You've never experienced that in your life, and you have a panic attack. It doesn't mean you're an idiot, and that's also Robert De Niro.
Meanwhile, De Niro's probably holed up in some luxury hotel rehearsing his next dramatic line in the mirror. But this time, there's no camera crew, no script, just cold hard reality. And that's one role he can't seem to master. At this point, Robert De Niro isn't a political commentator, he's a malfunctioning Twitter bot with a filmography. Every time he speaks, it's like a broken record given a mic and told to freestyle. It's not just embarrassing, it's Olympic-level cringe. Once known for monologues that sent chills, now he delivers tired tirades that give headaches. The only good fella thing left about him is how good he is at wrecking his own reputation. He's not raging against the machine, he is the machine. Rusty, squeaky, and running on expired batteries. If he keeps this up, his next big role will be the godfather of meltdowns. He stumbles into political debates like a moose on roller skates, clumsily name-dropping ideas he probably skimmed off bumper stickers. It's like watching someone try quantum physics after reading their horoscope. No clear stance, just a messy interpretive dance of confusion and self-importance. A man once praised for nuance now sounds like a guy angrily reviewing his cable bill.
Be asking Robert De Niro about is two things: awesome movies and divorce.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what happened to you.
I would love to ask him
with
about
the
that.
Tell me what happened if you want to talk about it, and tell me what happened to you with these awesome fucking movies. I don't need to know jack shit about his politics.
Well, he doesn't. That's the thing. He just tells you he feels a way. That's all he's got to say.
Yeah, but it's almost unfair to have a guy like that on a public show and talk to him about politics.
Do you know what it reminds me of? When the beauty pageant contestant can't pick a thing on a map? And they're making fun of her?
Yes.
Right? They mock her. And I'm like, is that fair to do to her? That's not her area.
Well, they made her have a speech and she got stuck in a loop and she couldn't get out. Remember?
Yes.
She didn't. Remember, she didn't know what to say. She's like, and then I think she's panicked.
So next time De Niro feels like dropping another rant, maybe he should try acting like someone who actually read the briefing notes. Or better yet, take a cue from his iconic roles, say less, do more, and let the work speak for itself. Because if this is the new De Niro, show someone, please cancel the sequel.